Hey YouTube, what's going on? Just want to take a video here. I haven't been on here for a while, and just want to talk to everybody about a couple things. Had a couple emails lately. As you know, my videos are never edited, so what you see is what you get. That's just how I am. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is I've had some questions, people asking me, well, if you were so good in football and baseball and stuff, how come you didn't go pro? How come you didn't go into the NFL or the MLB? And that's kind of a hard question to answer because when I was in high school and the community I live in, everybody's dead against you. I mean, it's a lot of politics. So, which means is you're in school and it don't really matter how good you are because the mom or dad's a bus driver, whoever's the athletic boosters, your dad or mom's she's a secretary or they're a teacher, so their kid or a coach, their kids are always going to play no matter how good you are, how bad you are. But I can't blame everything on politics and coaches, though. A lot of stuff was my fault too. I didn't keep my grades up, and so I couldn't get cleared to play Division I baseball or football. I couldn't even play Division II because of my grades. I couldn't get through the NCAA clearinghouse. So that's partly my fault. I can't blame teachers for not handing me out grades, even though it happens all the time. A lot of these guys get grades just given to them, but that didn't happen with me. And I'm looking back on it, I'm kind of glad it didn't. I had guys tell me, well, how come you didn't go to junior college for 2 years and then transfer and go D1? And I've had people say, well, I could have played D3. I actually went Otterbein for, I think I went to 2 or 3 practices and decided I didn't want to play. I was starting to get older. So, but yeah, the main thing is like I said, people ask me questions. They're like, well, like I said, if you're so good, how come you didn't go to the NFL or MLB? And it's, like I said, it's such a hard question to answer because, I had a lot more issues than just, trying out. First off, I didn't have the resume. I couldn't go D1 and I couldn't go D2. And D2 and D3, you don't usually get looked at. It's just they're after D1 players. So sorry about that. My phone's going dead. But so they want D1 players. They're the NCAA. They got all the, the film and, they boost these guys up and stuff. And then D2, you're noticed a little bit. I'm not saying that a D2, D3 guy or a junior college guy ain't going to go pro because it's happened before. I think it was Tony Romo or somebody like that. He come out of a small D1 AA school, subdivision. But with that being said, like I said, the grades was my fault. The politics, that was one thing. And then I was plagued with injuries. So when I was in high school, between my grades and injuries, that plagued me a lot. So that didn't help. And then, as I got older, it was always, my life was sports and working out. That's all I did. And I didn't spend time with my family, like I wish I would have. I just lost my grandpa, well, a year and a half ago, yesterday. And I wish I would spent more time with him. And, and who's to say, okay, so you do go pro. Well, say you play for California. You're out there in California. I'm so far from home, I'm not going to get to see my family and stuff. And as I've gotten older, I'm much more into family. And so don't bother me as much anymore. I mean, honest to God, if somebody come up to me right now and will say, hey, you could play for the Cleveland Browns or the Cincinnati Reds, you could play baseball or football, the only reason why I would want to do it's for the money because I've lost my passion in sports. I just really have. And people's like, well, how can you be so into it and, want to play D1 and go pro and this and that? And, like I said, I never really had a desire to go pro anyway, even if I would have made it. I just never really had the desire. And so then but what people don't understand is there's a lot of options. If you don't go pro in football, you got the CFL, you've got just all kinds of leagues. Baseball, you got AAA, you got Double-A baseball, and then you got Major League Baseball. There's so many different things, and if you really love the game a lot, you can go overseas and play, or you can play, Triple-A baseball. Still make 70, 80,000 plus a year, and doing something that you absolutely love. So there's a lot more options. So when people say, well, you ran a 4.37 40 and you bench pressed 225 17 times and you had a 37, 38-inch vertical, how come you didn't go pro, and all this and that. But what people don't realize is all the other guys that's pro or that's Division I college athletes can do that same thing. So then you got me that's practically going to be a walk-on because of my grades and injuries in high school that I never really got to prove myself. And then if I could prove myself, the coaches screwed me because, they didn't want you beating out their son, so you were screwed. And the town I live in, it's a lot of people that hate. If you went Division III and set records, people would say, oh, what's Division III? Say you went D2 and set records, it'd say, well, it's Division II, it's not Division I. Say you went Division I and started your junior and senior year. People around here would say, well, yeah, you played D1, but you only started 2 years. I mean, everybody around here is negative. Like, they want to just hate on you. And I don't know if it's because they're jealous or they hate themselves, but they constantly want to hate. You could be sitting here with $1 million and they would say, well, yeah, but your mom or dad gave it to you, or your grandpa was rich and he passed. It's never about you. It's always an excuse that they want to make to hate on you. And so go back, like I said, the NCAA clearinghouse, that was one reason I couldn't go D1 or D2 because I couldn't get through the NCAA clearinghouse. Then my injuries, that didn't help matters. So I was 18, and then I was like, started working out and stuff. Working out, training. So I got this bright idea when I was 24 years old back in 2008. I said, you know what? I'm going to go walk on at Marshall, play D1 football. 18, let's see, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 6 years later, out of high school, grades shouldn't matter, right? So I get a hold of, I don't want to name names, but I got a hold of people at Marshall and asked them, about everything. And they checked my transcript. They went back from 6 years ago. And, Mark Snyder was the coach at that time. He took over in 2008. And, I was in contact with him, and I couldn't go any further because they were still going back to high school with my grades. So see, I couldn't even walk on at Marshall because of grades still from high school. So I know a lot of people won't believe that, and they'll say, oh, well, you weren't good enough to go to Marshall, that's why you didn't go there. You weren't good enough to go to the NFL, or you weren't good enough, just constantly, because people are haters, You're never going to be good enough, really, for anybody in this world. So you got to do what makes you happy. So I'm going to show you guys a couple things here that I have never shared before. And actually, it's been set in the closet forever, and it's wrinkled. So anyway, I got a hold of Mark Snyder one day. Like I said, he was the coach at Marshall. And I've had this shirt forever. See it there. And then he was wrote Go Herd and Go Aggies, and then there's his signature there, Mark Snyder. Have a lot of respect for Mark Snyder. He coached at Ohio State. He's coached at South Florida. He got their record turned around. He's a great defensive coordinator. Like I said, he was the head coach at Marshall at 2008. I can't even remember, 2012, 13, I can't remember, and then Doc Holliday took over. But anyway, like I said, have a lot of respect for that man. He wrote Go Aggies on here because he was the football coach out there, defensive coordinator, when Johnny Manziel was quarterback out there. I couldn't think of his name there for a minute. But anyway, wanted to share that with people. And, if you showed that, like I said, the haters around here would probably say, oh, well, Brett wrote that. That's a fake signature, because that's just how people are. But, like I said, have a lot of respect for that man. Have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot of respect for that man. And have a lot but yeah, that was from Mark Snyder. Like I said, he was actually going to give me a shot. He told me I could walk on, and he'd give me a shot. He'd see what I could do. And I've always, like I said, even before that though, I always had a lot of respect for that man. And so anyway, that didn't work out. But let me back up a little bit. So everybody just thinks, oh yeah, he just runs a 4.3 40 and he bench presses 225 17, 18 times and all this and that. People just think that I'm lying about that stuff. They just think I woke up and did it. People do not know that I was going up to the high school in the middle of the night and I was running bleachers. I was running sprints on the track. I would work on my takeoff on my 40. I was pulling tires. I was hitting the tire with a sledgehammer. I was running with parachutes. I was backpedaling. I was doing push-ups, sit-ups. I was doing hang cleans. I was bench pressing. I was doing squats. I was jumping rope. I mean, people have no idea the blood, sweat, and tears that I put in to walking on at Marshall. And people just want to lie and say stuff. But you know what? Luckily for me, I do have videos on my YouTube, but you got to go a long, long ways down. It's even past the basketball league I was in and stuff. It's from 2008. My buddy recorded me on a flip phone. It's terrible. But there's a couple videos of me I played like 6 or 7 pickup basketball games, and I was actually tried to dunk afterwards. And a couple of them went in, but it was ugly. You know, I'm only 5'9" too. So, and then I got a video at Otterbeins College where I'm doing box jumps. So between my running and jumping and stuff, at least I got proof that, you know, that was me, that I could run and could jump. So that's why I always show the haters that when they say, well, you couldn't do that stuff. Well, you know, I proved that to them. And that's just, you know, a lot of stuff like that. So anyway, with all that being said, people not realizing what I put myself and my body through to go to Marshall. And you always hear these people say, if you work hard enough in it, you'll make it. You know, anything you want in life, you can do. Well, that's not always true, because I busted my ass and gave 110% to walk on at Marshall, and they come back and said I couldn't get cleared through the NCAA clearinghouse. So, and I worked, like I said, my ass off. People have no idea how hard I worked to get to that point, to be able to run and jump like that and everything. And I'm not trying to sound cocky and conceited. I just hate listening to people all the time say, oh, well, you weren't good enough, or, you know, this and that and this and that. Well, like I said, if people don't believe me, they can scroll down and watch the videos of me dunking, my vertical jump, me racing them 2 guys, and I'm not going to put race into it, but I raced 2 black dudes. They were arguing one night who was faster, and I said, I'll race you both. And I completely burned them. But you know, I'm sure the haters around here, you always hear people say, black people are the best athletes. Look at the NBA, look at the NFL. You know, it's always the black dudes that can jump and run fast. And predominantly they're right. And like I said, I'm not being racist. I'm just saying that a lot of your good athletes are black individuals. You know, there ain't nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, we live in a society nowadays where you say something about a black person or a white person or an Asian person and you're automatically racist or people hate you, you know, even if it's a compliment. Here I am getting a compliment, but people might say, oh, well, you're just stereotyping black people saying they're all good. No, I'm not saying they're all good. But if you look at the NBA and the NFL, predominantly the wide receivers, the defensive backs, the safeties, they are black individuals. Most of the time, they are faster. You don't see as many whites out there. It's just a basic fact. So anyway, but I was, so when I hit about 28, I decided to try out for the Mount Vernon Militia, play semi-pro football. Didn't have to have grades or anything. It was semi-pro football. So before the haters say anything, you know, I got a shirt right here from that. I got my jersey right here that I wanted to bring. Like I said, this has been up forever. Right there it is, Mount Vernon Militia number. And then, you know, on the back, just nothing special, just football uniform. So I wanted to show all that though, especially the Marshall shirt with Mark Snyder. And like I said, I can't say enough good about that guy because he was actually one person in my life that actually was a head coach that actually had faith in me that said, and all I asked him was, as I said, when I talked to him, I said, hey, I haven't had a fair shake my whole life at sports. Even when I was 6 years old playing baseball, this guy set me out every game because he didn't want me to be better than his son. And I mean, I'm 6 years old, and I'm like, why ain't I playing? I made the all-star team, and this travel team, but I'm not good enough to play. And, I still despise this guy from today. I mean, I have nothing to do with him. I mean, whether you're good or whether you're not good, it's unbelievable that you wouldn't play a young kid because of jealousy. But like I said, that's our community though. They didn't care. He wanted his son to shine, and that's all it was to it. And so it's just, since I've been 6 years old, I haven't had a fair shake in sports, in anything. So like I said, this was one Division I head coach that actually gave me a shot. I would have been 3.5 hours from my home, so I wouldn't have been too far from home. Everything was working out perfect, and then the NCAA clearinghouse got brought up. And he thought I was a full-time student at one time, and then because you only got 4 or 5 years once you go full-time to use your eligibility. But I told him, no, I was just a part-time student. So then they went back and they checked the NCAA clearinghouse, went back and checked my transcript from high school and said I was ineligible. But I just wanted to clear the air on some things of people asking me and emailing me why if you're so good and can run so fast, how come you didn't go pro? And I'm going to sit here and say, I'd probably never went pro. There's athletes that I thought were great that went pro, and they didn't even make it. They didn't even get a chance. And then there's other athletes that went pro that I think's horrible, and people's going to say, well, how can they be horrible if they're playing pro? Well, there's another question. Say you're a tight end and you go play 3 years of college football, decide you want to go into the draft. So say it's your junior year and you don't want to stick out your senior year, you want to go into the draft, okay? So say, I don't know, the Cincinnati Bengals is only needing one tight end, okay? And you've got, now this is probably, I'm going to over-exaggerate here, but say you've got 50 guys that's trying out for this position to go pro, okay? So you got 50 guys trying out for the same position you do, okay? Now that's when I'm going to go back to the fact that I'm going to say, when you're D3 or D2 or even junior college, you're not going to get looked at as much as D1 because D1 is most of the time better players, and they're going to look at that and say, well, this guy was D1 or this guy was D2 or D3 or this guy was junior college. So they're still going to look at that because they're going to look at the competition and say, well, this guy set records at the D3 level, but this guy set records at the D1 level and he was playing against these kind of opponents. So that's where the Division I makes you look better. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say D3 players aren't any good, D2 players aren't any good, and I'm not going to sit here and say everybody that plays D1's any good, because that's not how you look at things. There's people that don't want to go away from home, so they stay around to a close college, whether it's D3 or D2. There's some guys that want to be two-sport athletes, and D1 programs say, no, you're only going to play one sport here. So they're like, okay, I know a guy that did that. He went to Otterbein College. He was playing football at Georgia, West Georgia, I think. And one of his cousins was like, hey, come up here to Otterbein. You can play two sports here. You can play football and basketball. And here this guy is, D3 player. He could have tried out for the NFL, but he ended up playing overseas in basketball. His love was for basketball, and he could have probably played both, but he came to Otterbein because he wanted to play two sports. So anyway, I hope I cleared up the air. This video is almost 20 minutes because I always get rambling and things go on longer than I want. So, but that is my reasons why I didn't go on. I couldn't because the NCAA clearinghouse, my grades, and being injury prone. So, like I said, I don't feel like I don't feel like a lot of them guys are any better than me. And I don't feel like I'm any better than them. I never say I'm better than somebody else. I'll say I'm as good as them or something like that, but I will never say that I am a better athlete than somebody else because there's so much to the game that people don't realize, Like basketball, the first thing everybody always wants to say in basketball after the game, how many points did you have? How many points did you have? How many points did you have? It's all about offense. All these guys want to do nowadays is dribble and shoot. That's all they want to do is offense because that's where the glory is. It's like football. A lot of people don't want to play defense. They want to be the quarterback. They want to be the guy, the running back, the wide receiver. They want to be scoring the touchdowns. They want the glory. They want to make that game-winning catch. They want to do this. They want to do that. Well, in basketball, people want to score. People want that. Yeah, I had 30 points this game. I had 40 points this game. And I seen where my sister's ex, her brothers made a video, and he's like, come out here, I'll teach you how to play basketball. And it's all dribbling and shooting, because he can't play defense. I do not know how many times, that even in the NBA, college, the defense is just horrendous. And that's one thing I'm huge on is defense because like they always say, offense wins games, defense wins championships. And I am huge on defense. I actually started out as a wide receiver and decided to play defensive back or safety because I just got sick of seeing people getting burnt and people just not playing good defense. So I switched over to the other side. And even in basketball, football, everything, I'm big on defense. That is what I am big on because like I've told people a million times, if you're playing man-to-man in basketball, and I don't know why this is so hard for people to figure out, but if you're playing man-to-man in basketball, say I score 30 points and I'm guarding you and you score 31. I'm negative 1 point. So at the end of the game, if I scored, say we were the only two, which this is impossible, this is just a scenario, but say we played a game, 5-on-5, and I was guarding you, you were guarding me. I scored 30 points, you scored 31. The score ended up being 31-30. I lost. Yeah, I can go over and tell everybody I scored 30 points, but the guy I was guarding scored 31. I lost. See, that's not the kind of guy I am. I've always been a team player. I want to play defense and win. I don't care if I was a college basketball player and I never scored in my whole career. I want to guard the guy and say he averages 20 points a game. I want to keep him to 10 points or less because that's going to kill them. If you shut down their score, that's going to kill them in winning the game because especially if that's a guy you rely on. So that's my whole point. Defense is so important, but these kids don't want to play defense anymore because there's no glory in it. There's no glory in playing defense. It's just, like I said, football, they want to be the running back, wide receiver. They want to score the touchdowns. They want the glory. Basketball games. How many times have you been to a basketball game and heard anybody say, how many offensive rebounds did you have? How many defensive rebounds did you have? How many steals did you have? How many assists did you have? How many blocks did you have? How many times has anybody ever said that? You never hear it. It's always, how many points did you have? Or guys go over to the scorebook. They want to know how many points they've had. Points, points, points. That's all they care about, scoring. These guys, like my sister's ex, his brother, he don't care if he wins or loses. If he scores 30 or 40 points or 20 points, he's thrilled to death. He don't care if his team loses. He wouldn't care if he went 0-20. As long as he's averaging 30 or 40 points a game or sets records in threes. I don't understand it. But that's him, and that's the glory part. So anyway, I hope everybody, like I said, I just hope this video cleared up some air, and I just hope people understand, that there's just a lot more to life than sports. And, it took me many years to figure that out. And like I said, I lost my grandpa about a year and a half ago. I lost my uncle a little over a year ago. And, people starting to get older. I'm seeing my grandparents, my aunts, uncles. Everyone's starting to get older and people's passing away. And it really makes you value life more. And I kind of wish that, instead of going to the parks every night and playing basketball or going out with my buddies or going to work out, I kind of wish that I would have kind of went and seen my grandpa more. Was really close to him and seen him a lot. But, once it comes down to it, it's like what's helped me over the years is because, like I said, it bothered me for a long, long time not being able to go to Marshall and go play football, even baseball. I was going to play football and baseball there, but it really bothered me for many years. And then I got thinking, maybe it was God's plan why I didn't go to, say, the CFL, NFL, just Division I college, even at Otterbein, D3. Maybe I would have been run down the field and took a bad hit and broke my neck and been paralyzed. I mean, it's just everything in this world does happen for a reason, and people pass away and people, things don't work out for them in life, jobs, sports, things just don't work out. But, it's hard sometimes because you're like, well, why would so-and-so have died? He was so young and stuff. I know it's hard, but everything happens for a reason. And, a lot of people don't believe in God. I do. I personally do. And I've had things happen to me in life that has made me a believer, where there for a while I kind of was like, I believe, but I don't, But then as things started happening to me here and there, it did make me a believer. And then I got thinking, things do happen for a reason. And there's a reason why that football didn't work out for me. And like I said, I could have, Ball State years ago, this wide receiver, I can't remember his name. If you look him up, I'm sure in YouTube, you put Ball State in and put wide receiver or paralyzed, I'm sure he'll bring up his name. But here's a guy, he was a junior or senior, I can't remember, wide receiver, on top of the world, running down the field, makes a catch, gets hit, and he got paralyzed. They said he'd never walk again. So in that split second of this guy's life, he goes from being on top of the world to nothing. Like, to this standout wide receiver that's probably going to get looked at going pro, to being paralyzed and maybe not even being able to walk. And just like that, I mean, one hit, bam. That's how people don't think about that. You're out there and you're in the moment and you're playing. And like I said, you could make the catch, bam, be hit, and you could be paralyzed. That's what happened to that guy. One hit, and he was paralyzed. Said he would never walk. And he ended up walking and getting his diploma. But I'm just saying, and not only with sports, but that's how quick life goes. Car accident, you could be dead. You could be dead. You could wake up tomorrow. You might not wake up tomorrow. And so, like I said, with sports, even out of it, just you got to start valuing your life more and just think about your grandparents if they're still around, and aunts, uncles. If you've had an argument with your brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, whoever, even if you were in the wrong or the right, just call them up, write them a letter, text them. I don't care what you got to do. Just apologize to them. I mean, life is too short. And I hope if anybody got this video that watched it all the way through, it's almost a half an hour now, I just hope that you at least watch the end and just take that in consideration. Because like I said, if you're into it with your family members or a friend or something and they would happen to pass, you have to live with that the rest of your life. And if you can live with it, that's fine. But that stuff can eat people up. And so even when I'm in the wrong, I try to always make up for things I've said and everything. Whether I'm in the right or wrong, I always say, hey, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry we disagreed. Whatever the case may be, because like I said, you might never get that chance. So like I said, with sports completely out of it, just, value your life and try to make amends with everyone. And God bless you all, and you guys have a great weekend.